while back I showed you some minis that I got from NPC Miniatures. And these are blinded warrior nuns. They're meant to be used for games like Mordheim or Forbidden Psalm or any other sort of skirmish warband based wargaming. Now I thought these were really interesting because I'm actually... Can I help you? Dude. Now I thought those were really interesting because I am working on an army in the background that I want to use not only for like skirmish war games like the ones I mentioned before, but mainly I want to use them as like antagonistic NPCs in my role-playing games. This army is going to be like a religious, zealous army full of warrior nuns and zealots and crazy battle priests and all of that stuff. And I've been slowly chipping away at that army just in between other projects. One of the most fun things about this army for me is that I get to mix miniatures from all over the place and put them together with like one cohesive paint scheme and make them all fit together. I've got a Sin Eater that is part of it from Trench Crusade. I've got some Kit Bash models that I made out of like some Perry Miniatures Knights and some other bits and pieces that I got. I've got 2 Victus models that are part of that army. And today I want to share something special with you that I think will fit right in with those. So, you remember the NPC Miniatures warrior nuns that I showed earlier? NPC have actually reached out to me and they are working on a new Kickstarter, and this time they're bringing the warrior nuns to Trench Crusade. So the Kickstarter is called Tales of the Trenches, the Trench Sisterhood. And so essentially these are very similar models to the warrior nuns that I showcased earlier, but they have been modified to fit the Trench Crusade setting. So they've got machine guns and pistols and bullet casings and all of the sort of grim, dark, religious iconography that you would expect from a real proper Trench Crusade warband. I want to take a look at those and see the models with my own eyes, but also I want to see if maybe some of those models could be modified to fit in a fantasy wargame as well. Since I don't play Trench Crusade yet, I want to see if maybe some of these minis I can use for my fantasy warrior, priest, religious fanatic army. And so I've got a good idea of what I want to do, and we're going to paint that today. All right, let's open up these minis. So here's the box full of brand new fresh minis. So let's dig in and see what we got. These are resin printed miniatures, so the detail is incredibly crisp and super sharp and fine. Now we can see these look very similar to the other ones that we already received a while back, but these ones have firearms instead of slings and other medieval weapons. Now there's still some supports on here, those cleaned up very quickly and easily, and I really enjoy the poses on these. You've got some gas masks, and these also aren't like just typical gas masks. You've got some ornamentation on there, and the helmets have those briars and spikes. You also have a selection of different heads and the canisters for the gas masks. Now, most minis in this Kickstarter will come pre-assembled, but some you'll have to put together. But luckily it's pretty easy. You've got little pegs so you can sort of clip those together. There's even a dog in here. This is a stretch goal, I believe. And he's so cute. I love the poses on these minis. They look fantastic. This one's kneeling down, aiming down the sights. And she's got those lovely bells on the back with those tiny spikes. I love that this one has like a purity seal sort of attached to the gun as well. And yeah, this is another one of those stretch goals, and I just fell in love with this miniature. I think she looks so incredibly cool. She's got that relic on her belt and a huge bell mace and a little dagger, and I think she'll work perfectly in a medieval setting, so I chose to paint her as well as the dog for today's video. And we can see here on the left is one of my previously painted miniatures that I use in this army, and so we're going to try to imitate that paint scheme with the red and the sort of bluish black armor and the white highlights with the gold and silver metal. So let's get started on that armor. The first step is just pretty roughly sketching out the highlights and where I want them to be, and I draw lines with this Incubi Darkness. It's a paint by Citadel, and it's this sort of dark turquoise color, and it'll be a great sort of starting point. I chose to paint the dog's fur with the same color just to kind of keep it all neat and unified across the board and not have to introduce a different color. Helps to speed things up when painting, and it'll look great, just like matted black fur. Next step is to go one step up with the values. This is Thunderhawk blue, sort of a desaturated blue color. And this I use to just draw very fine lines, sort of in amongst the broader strokes that I already painted with the Incubi Darkness before. And this will just help to define those outer edges and the sharp bits where I want the sort of the light to catch, and where I want the different contours and forms of the model to stand out from each other. And just take your time with this and go around the model and pick out all of those little raised edges. And the very final highlight is Fenrisian Grey. This is a very desaturated blue, almost sort of an off-white. And you can see there how sharp that makes the armor look. Looks a little bit overexposed here, but you'll see in a minute how it looks with all of the other colors. I do this for the dog as well. And yeah, it's really stark, but I've come to sort of appreciate very stark contrast on a model, because under these painting lights it looks a little bit overdone maybe, but as soon as you put it on the tabletop under some fluorescent lights, it'll really pop. So I like to overdo it a little bit. The tabard I'm base coating with some red, and then I've got a very, very light gray with some good coverage that I use to base coat these cloth parts, and these will draw your eye when they're on the tabletop and sort of introduce a little bit of a lighter value. I took the time to base coat the bases as well. This is just Mechanicus standard gray. Take your time around the feet. You don't want to paint over all of the stuff you've already painted. And then a wash of Caraburg Crimson. All of these are Citadel paints, by the way. And for this, it's just like various blacks and browns diluted with some medium to get a wash on the base. Now for the handle of the weapon, I chose Corn Red, which is a little bit more desaturated, a little bit more purplish red. And now I highlight the tabard with a lighter red, followed by an even lighter red. And this last highlight is very, very sharp. You just want to paint some very, very fine lines. And here's how that looks. We'll refine that later on with some more washes and some glazing. Now for this white, I like to always shade that with a mix of Apothecary White, which is a contrast paint, and then I add like a little tiny bit of Drakenhof Nightshade in there. And for this desaturated red, I just mix in some flesh tones, some Caucasian flesh tones into the desaturated red. And then for the last highlight, this is just Cadian flesh tone. Now there's a lot of brown leather details on the model, and I like to do most of those in Rhinox hide, which is a sort of warmish, desaturated dark brown that I really enjoy. It's like a nice chocolate color. There's these straps holding down the armor, and also the dog's got some straps. And then I dry brush the base. I always use the same basing nowadays. Helps to keep everything sort of looking the same. I might change that down the line. It's just dry brushing of Carrack Stone, and then I follow that up with some Screaming Skull, which is an off-white bone color. Now the Rhinox hide, I highlight that with Gorthor Brown, and then I follow the Gorthor Brown with Carrack Stone as well. If you use the same colors across the model, it'll help to sort of tie everything together. And so by using the same final highlight across different materials, that sort of goes a long way towards that. You can see it's also very, very light, so we're really pushing the contrast. And yeah, this all goes back to what I said earlier. You want to maximize those value shifts. I base coated that little pouch with Mournfang Brown, which is a little bit warmer, a little bit lighter. And then I go back in with a even lighter gray to highlight these cloth parts. And then the final highlight for those is just pure white. Now don't use Citadel's Wightstar for that, it's awful. I like to use Bold Titanium White by Pro Acryl. It's my favorite white paint, and I need to get a new bottle actually. That just reminded me. Now some final highlights for this pouch as well. Just a minor detail, but I like to keep everything on the same level. And then I go around the model and I pick out all of the parts that I want to be metal. I've got 2 metals here. This first one is Lead Belcher. You've probably used it or heard of it. It's just one of Citadel's sort of neutral gray metallics. And I use this for the visor as well, and that'll really make it pop and sort of draw your eyes towards her face, which is where I want you to be looking, because that's usually sort of where the character of a model lies, even though she's got a whole faceplate covering her face. But still. Now the other metal I'm using is this gold. This is Retributor Armor, which is a very nice metallic by Citadel. And I'm using this for all of the sort of ornamentation and decoration, all of the metal that won't be seeing actual like battle damage, and so is allowed to be sort of a more high quality, more expensive metal in my mind. There's also some bits of parchment around the model, and I base those with Zandri Dust, or I think it might even be Ushapti Bone actually. Any off-white bone color will do. And there's some of these wrapped around the bell weapon as well. Now all of the leather and the metals, they all get the same wash. I just mixed up some browns and blacks and made a wash out of those. And I use this to sort of go into some creases in between different shapes and materials and differentiate those from each other. And it'll also sort of tint the metals a little bit, making them appear a little bit tarnished, a little bit weathered and old and grimy and dirty. And I think that suits these models very well, and also is just a look that I personally really enjoy. You could go a little bit lighter on this if you prefer your metallics to look cleaner. The last step for all of the metal parts is a final highlight of Stormhost Silver. It's a very bright silver, and I use this for the gold as well as the iron. And it just ties it all together and gives your eyes some little pieces of contrast, some little points of interest where the light gets reflected just a little bit more. And then you can also do like some traditional edge highlighting on all of the metal parts as well with this. I like to kind of keep it a little bit simple and use this sparingly just to draw the eye to certain points where I want you to be looking, or where I want sort of light to catch. You can see it on this chain, the way it like adds some detail there, where previously all of those forms sort of blended together as one, and adding this last little highlight really sort of pushes those forms away from each other. I use Seraphim Sepia, a Citadel wash, on all of these parchment pieces. And I used it on some of the gold as well to sort of tint that towards a warmer tone. And then I highlight the parchment back up with some off-white bone colors. Take a shot whenever I say off-white bone color. And the last highlight is pure white. Now this isn't easy when you haven't got like outer edges to sort of guide your brush, but just take your time and take a deep breath, and remember that if you mess up something like this, you can always go back in. For these little pieces of parchment, I decided to add some little scripture on there, because it's always nice to have a detail like that. And for this, I like to use a small brush and also very diluted paint, so it's not too stark, and also you get a little bit more control that way. And so here's the finished results for this new knight and her trusty dog. Okay, they're finished. I'm really happy with the result. I think they turned out really nice. I mean, it's just a really, really cool model on its own. But being able to fit this with my army is what really makes it click for me. And I think that's what's nice about these minis. They can sort of fit into any setting. You could replace those machine guns with some plasma guns and use them as like Sisters of Battle in 40k. You could get like just the purely medieval version if you're into that. There's really no limits. And with the modularity that some of these have, with the hands and the heads that you can swap out, you could even like kit bash with some third-party bits and make them completely your own. The dog, I think, is so cute and kind of menacing, but still cute. And I couldn't help but notice that the proportions of this dog really fit with some other dogs that I had laying around. So I've actually started painting up these dogs as well. These are from the Hexbane's Hunters, I think Underworld's Warband. And these dogs are like the exact same scale and they look pretty similar. So yeah, looking forward to painting up these dogs as well. And then I've got like some warhounds or like some hunting dogs for this army as well. So cool. I just love when a project comes together like this. I think Exia are doing a great job at creating really, really beautiful, tiny detail with their miniatures. 3D printing is crazy. It's insane to me that this is now possible to just do at home. I didn't do this at home. This was sent to me by Exia, but you could do this at home if you've got like a proper setup. Achieving this level of detail just with like a printer at home. I've been pretty ill for the past like 4 weeks. I've got like some sort of super bug or I don't know what it is. I'm on antibiotics now, so hopefully that will resolve itself over the coming days and I can get back into the groove of things. This is the first time since I started the channel that I wasn't able to upload a video on the day that I wanted to upload it. So I'm hoping to get back on track and stick to like a weekly release schedule. But also I did read all of your very nice and thoughtful comments telling me to take my time and not rush the healing process. And I hear you and I want to assure you I'm not pushing myself too hard. I'm just trying to not fall out of the rhythm because I know myself, and like once you push past that date once, it's very easy to then go and say, oh, you know, last time I missed the deadline, so why not chill for like 2 more days this time? And this is genuinely a hobby that I really, really enjoy and that I want to be spending time with, not just the painting, but also thinking of videos and filming them for you guys and talking to you guys and seeing the reactions. And so I don't want to let that slide. That being said, if you want to support the channel, you know what to do. You can become a member today. If you do, you can join our Discord server, The Lodge, where amazing people are waiting to hang out with you and share their hobby projects with you and give feedback on yours. I also post behind the scenes stuff there. Everybody on there knew about this video coming up way before I posted anything on YouTube because I always share like behind the scenes little updates. And right here on YouTube, you also get access to exclusive videos. I try to put one out every month exclusively for members. So if that sounds cool to you, or you just want to like buy me a coffee a month to support the channel, you can sign up to become a member right here on YouTube. The link is in the description. Thank you to all of you who have already become members. You're helping me buy hobby supplies to keep this channel going, and I'm very, very grateful for that. I've been having issues with my lamp and sort of my whole lighting setup for the painting portions of the videos, and I was able to buy a new lamp to try out, and hopefully that will improve that. So that is in part thanks to members. Also because I started working an actual job again, but you know, half and half, sort of. I love you guys. I will see you in the next one. Please stay kind. Please stay sane out there and keep your wits about you. Times are tough, but I'm sure we will get through it. Have fun with your hobby.